guys, today's video is all about self-love and what my journey to get to self-love was. So if you're interested in that, stick around. What's up everybody, it's your homegirl Leanese, and I just wanted to say, hey, what's up? How you doing? How you been? How's your day? How's it going? ¿Cómo estás? Welcome back to my channel. Today is Thirsty Thursday, and it would not be a proper Thirsty Thursday video if I did not have a beverage with me. So today, I've got my L mug. She's back. Like I said last week, she's probably here to stay. I love her. She's so pretty. And I'm drinking coffee again. This is the same coffee I served myself this morning. I never finished it, so I just reheated it and we'll finish it with you guys. As I mentioned in my intro, today's topic is all about self-love and my journey to self-love. It was a rocky road, and I'm going to just give you a little piece of my story. I'm not a one-dimensional character, so my story has lots of layers and lots of, twists and turns. So this is just a small piece of it, but I hope that it edifies you in some way, shape, or form, because I know that whenever I talk about my story, it helps me. It reminds me time and time again just how faithful God is. And so it is my joy and my pleasure to share that with you guys. The reason why I'm sharing my story and talking about self-love is because earlier this week I recorded a video with my friend Judy. I'm going to link it somewhere here, maybe? I don't know if it's here or here yet. I haven't, Anywho, I'm going to link it around here so that you guys can just listen to us chit chat, talk about self-love, talk about all the things that God is doing in our lives. But I'm just going to jump into today's video. But before I do, I'm going to scoot you guys a little bit closer so that we can get up close and personal. All right? So bear with me. Is this close enough? I'm going to scoot you out a little bit. It's too close for comfort. This is like proxemics level 100. I don't like it. I think this is a comfortable distance. If we were conversing and we were this close to each other, I'd feel like, okay, we're close. We're having a close talk. I want to talk about the prodigal son. So the prodigal son can be found in Luke 15, and I'm just going to paraphrase it because then I really want to get into the meat of it, which is my story. So in this story, this father has two sons, and one of the sons is like, Dad, give me what's mine to inherit. I want to use it now. And so his dad gives it to him, and he goes off and he does his thing and he lives this wild life, and then he gets flat broke, talking about how he just wishes to be like eating what the pigs eat on his dad's property, because even they are treated better than what he's treated, out in this crazy lifestyle that he has created for himself. And he goes back home, and he's expecting to go back home and be accepted back into the family, but like at a really low level, like you're my son and all, and I'm gonna accept you back in, but it's never gonna be the same. And he was met with the opposite. His dad was so happy to have him back that he just clothed him in like the fanciest things, with like this fancy ring and robe and sandals, and had this party. My son is back. And that is the gist of the prodigal son. There's more to it. Look it up. It's a meaty story, so curl up with some coffee and read it. But that's the gist of it, and I want to talk about myself now so that I can show you my journey, who I am today, why I am who I am today, and all the things that came about to create your girl Leanese. I grew up in the church, and I was goody two-shoes level 1,000. I was well-mannered. I had straight A's. I was involved in everything. I was a youth pastor by the time I was 18. And yeah, I had a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, and I had a lot of people looking up to me. And at this time, I was mentoring a lot of youth, a lot of people that were my age, because I was 18, so all of the youth were about my age. I was mentoring them. I was coaching them through difficult things and doing my best to be there for them. However, I was on an island. I was isolated. It's very important and key to recognize circumstances, but also own up to your own choices. So I have to own up to the fact that I did not reach out to anybody. I was not accountable to anybody else. And although I was mentoring people, I wasn't seeking mentorship. And that was my downfall. Just internalized everything. And I started to feel the pressure to have to be perfect. And what happened was I chose to leave it all behind. I was like, I'm sick of this. I'm done being there for other people. I'm just going to do me and be for me. And that's it. I strayed little by little, further and further and further, until I was completely living outside of God's will. And I was living life based on my own moral compass, which was skewed at the time. I would justify my poor judgment and my actions by saying to myself, well, I'm surrounded by really good friends and we look out for each other and we would never put anybody in harm's way. We were all in harm's way. We were all a hot mess. So all along, I was feeling God calling me closer and pursuing me. However, I was just not having it. I did not want to deal with the responsibility that came along with following the Lord and listening to his call for me. I just was not like, no thank you, boo-boo. No. The reason why I was not trying to listen to God's call was because I was a mess. I was a hot mess. And I told myself that I couldn't possibly make my way back to my Father's house until I cleaned up my mess. And that is the biggest lie I could have told myself. And that is the biggest lie you could tell yourself. And the reason why it's the biggest lie is because in no other circumstances of life do we ever act when we're 100% ready. Ever. You are never 100% ready to take your first career job after college. You are never 100% ready to become a parent. You are never 100% ready to be married. You're not ever 100% ready to do anything in life. You just learn as you grow. Your preparedness, your readiness comes with experience. So why do we tell ourselves that lie that we have to be a certain way before listening to the Lord's call? So if that's you right now, I want to tell you it's a lie. Don't fall into it. I fell into it. You're never going to be ready. Just dive, because it's good stuff coming your way. But anyways, I digress. When I finally felt empty enough, drained enough, unloved enough, unwanted enough, that's when I slowly started to put one foot in front of the other and walk in the right direction. That doesn't mean I arrived at the right direction. It took me time. It was a long time of baby steps and getting there and figuring it out and trusting God. My behaviors didn't change overnight, but I can say now that I am drastically different than I was. So my behaviors did change. It just wasn't overnight, and that's the case with most people, I suppose. I remember being at a retreat one summer called Summerfest, and it was during worship, and I had this experience where it clicked in my head, and I was finally able to feel within my body what God's heart for me was. And in that moment, I felt my heart so big in my chest, too big for my chest, and beating like with so much force, it felt like it was beating with like the force of 1,000 drums, just boom, 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 boom. And it was big and meaty and red and juicy. And that was me feeling and visualizing God's heart for me. And that moment is a moment that I think back to often. When I was experiencing that and feeling that, I was remembering all of my wild, crazy, not so rational decisions. And I was thinking of the what could have been. In seeing that in my head, those scenarios, those what ifs, and feeling this beating heart, I was able to see God's protection over me, even when I wanted nothing to do with him. And that, every time I think about that, it gets me. Like right now, I'm getting emotional just talking about it. So that was just one key moment. I have plenty of moments like that throughout my entire life, from when I was a little girl and listening for the first time God's call over my life to, all the way up until now, moments in which the Lord has just reminded me of his faithfulness and his love for me and how special I am in his eyes. So whenever I start to feel self-doubt kick in, whenever I start to feel like I'm less than or that I am unworthy, I remember those key moments in which I felt the Lord just embrace me. And then I also look to his word, because his word says a lot of things about you as a person. And they reassure me that whatever I'm feeling, whatever funk I'm going through at the moment is just that, a funk, a temporary funk, not anything that's going to define me as a person. I like to think about the book of Songs of Solomon, because it's a love story, and we're a love story. God is always pursuing us, and there's this one part of the book that says, "You are altogether beautiful, my love. There is no flaw in you." And when I read that, I think about like God admiring me as his bride, and just, he thinks there's no flaw in me. I'm like, no, there's no flaw in me, girl. I'm lit. God says I'm lit. So that, just let that sink in. You are so lit. God doesn't see a flaw in you. I've got notes, guys, because I didn't want to forget anything. Jeremiah 29 talks about the plans that God has for us. They're plans to prosper us and give us a future and a hope. Hang on to that. That's what I do. Girl, boy, I hang on to that hope. I hang on to that future, to those plans that the Lord has just been telling me about, and just thinking about that, because he's a God of his word. You wait and see. And then one of the most special ones, the one that really just makes my heart go pitter-patter, is in the book of Psalms 139, where it says, "You are fearfully and wonderfully made." That just fills my heart, because that just means that I was made with such meticulous attention to detail that there's no way that this funk is going to define me. So that's my story. That's part of my story. I really hope that if you're in a tough time, you're in a tough spot, you are reminded of how valuable you are to the Lord, and look for what you mean to him, because you're going to find it, and repeat those to yourself. Write them down. Sing them in a tune until you believe it. And once you believe it, you're going to be unstoppable. I really, really just truly pray and hope that this touches somebody, that this reminds you that there's no perfect time. The perfect time is now for whatever. That's what I have for you guys. Hey, my camera cut out a little bit, so the end of my video got a little bit wonky, but what I was saying is, I hope you enjoyed this video, and before you leave, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and comment down below what else you want to see on Thirsty Thursday. Bye, guys.